Expectations are set to soar on the plains this season, but how high can recruiting climb if Auburn puts a few wins under its belt? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G, and thank you so much for making us your first listen of every single day. It's Monday, and joining me as he does every single Monday is my good friend Caesar Walker to talk a little bit about recruiting momentum and how Auburn can drive recruiting momentum through results on the field this season. Caesar, let's jump right in here. Last week I did a segment with our good friend Kyle Rush from the Barn. He mentioned that recruiting momentum has slowed somewhat. And now I want to tell you, this is not an easy thing for him to say. Kyle is a boog master when it comes to recruiting. Always going to see the
I
positive
think the
side of it.
correct term is master of the boog.
Master of the boog is Kyle Rush from the Barn. But even he is in a place right now where he's saying, look, Auburn doesn't even have anything really big pending here. Now, this is significant. We all know that they moved early signing day to December, and that February date has almost become meaningless, right? You have your class set, you're in some trouble. Now, Auburn had a lot of flips last year, but it seems like we've gotten to the wait and see phase of the Hugh Freeze era for these recruits. They've done a great job recruiting with what they've had to work with. Now they need results on the field. They need W's. They need a close to double-digit season to tell recruits when you come to Auburn, you're going to compete for championships.
Listen, this is year 3, Mike, and Hugh Freeze through 2 seasons has a losing record on the field. So you're given a grace period when you come to any new school as a head coach, right? You get the opportunity of the benefit of the doubt because it's dream selling season. I'm telling recruits where I'm going to take this new program. Come along for the ride, help us build something amazing. And that works for about 2 seasons, Mike, on average, right? Hugh Freeze has been able to do an exceptional job of recruiting. And I think Auburn fans in a short span has gotten pretty spoiled with the recruiting success. And again, this is a fantastic staff when it comes to recruiting. I'm a little disappointed where Auburn stands right now, but I'm not down on this staff because this staff has proven that they can make lemonade out of lemons, Mike. When they got to Auburn, you got to remember one of the most impressive things that we saw is they took a class that was somewhere outside of 30, 40 when Brian Harsin got fired. And they only had a few more weeks to make something happen. And they pulled Auburn within the top 20 within a short few weeks, recruiting and bringing guys back into the fold who was kind of interested in Auburn at one point, but went elsewhere. And this coaching staff was able to do it. Well, now they find themselves in a very interesting spot where now they have to start delivering on some of the promises that they've made once they arrived at Auburn. They were going to take Auburn to new heights. They were going to turn this thing around and get Auburn moving in the right direction. Well, the 2 seasons, it really hasn't manifested on the field. And I think going into year 3, this is definitely a proven year, as it is for most coaches going into year 3, Mike. You have to begin to show that this program, you are the guy for this job. You have to show that they made the right decision bringing you here, because at the end of the day, while recruiting is important, wins are very important. And so in order to keep the momentum going, they're going to have to show that, hey, winning 6 games isn't enough. Winning 7 games isn't enough. Auburn has to begin to find its way into the discussion of possibly landing itself into not only the SEC championship, but the college football playoff, because that's what these big-time recruits care about, Mike. Those guys want to go someplace where they want to win. And if Auburn isn't winning, it's going to be difficult to sustain even the success this coaching staff has made on the recruiting trail the past 2 seasons.
I've been saying it for months on months that once the money is even for the top recruits, it all comes down to all the traditional things that you want to recruit on, which is fit, scheme, opportunity, how much you like the school. All those
Yeah,
traditional things now are what you're selling to recruits, because you're like, look, you want money? We got money. Here's your money. Now let's talk about how you're going to fit in as a football player here at Auburn University. So, you mentioned where that bar is. Now, I will say I'm not sure how important the SEC championship is in this conversation when your conference, as the SEC, has a chance to put 5 teams in the college football playoff. And make no mistake, even though only Texas, Georgia, and Tennessee made it, Alabama had a chance to be in there. If they had won 10 games, they would have been in. They would have found their way in there. Ole Miss, if they had won 10 games, they would have found their way in there. Missouri, if they had won 10 games, they would have found their way in it. And all
sure,
3 of the teams I just mentioned blew it. So if
sure,
you're Auburn, and look, and South Carolina was playing so well to finish the season that they were a fringe contender for the playoffs. People were like, do they deserve it over a team like SMU based on the teams that
sure,
they had to play? Right. So
sure, sure.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I think that the goal for Hugh Freeze this year could be playoff. You've got the schedule for it. And if you've got your quarterback, you've got one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country. Cook something up and go win football games.
We talked about how winning games gives your players the exposure that they need, right? We know that the NFL is full of guys who are 3 stars and even 2 stars coming out of high school, but it's something about a program like Georgia. It's something about a program like Texas or what Alabama has been under Nick Saban, where it seems like they were a factory for the NFL, right? And the reason for that, Mike, was they were winning games. And so
Yeah.
what happens is when you win games, uh, from a television standpoint, you're going to find yourself in marquee matchups early and often. And where do scouts tend to find themselves at? These marquee matchups. And so when you're winning games, the players of those teams get the exposure that other players at other programs are starved to get, Mike. That's a recruiting tool as well. And so if these guys also want to come to this place and win, they also want to get to the next level. How do you get these guys to the next level? How do you get these guys the exposure they need? Obviously, a lot of these big time recruits are coming in with a lot of hype and fanfare, and people know who they are. But to put them on a main stage early and often throughout the season, as well as in the college football playoff, you got to do that by winning games and putting yourself in playoff contention to do that. I think that those are some of the other things that's working against Auburn as well, because when you look at the past couple of NFL drafts, Auburn has not been putting guys in high rounds into the NFL. Guys have been signing free agent deals or being drafted in later rounds. That hurts when you're trying to recruit head to head with the Georgias, the Bamas, these top tier programs that are putting guys into the first round, the second round, third round, right? So again, winning is going to help give these players the exposure they need, and that becomes another recruiting tool because, as you said, you got NIL. All right, players can ask money. Auburn can pay those guys what they want, but guys ultimately at the end of the day, they want to get to the next level. And does this program give me the best shot at getting to the next level? The reason Auburn can answer that question by winning games and then begin to turn around their misfortune of not having first round draft picks, second round draft picks, multiple first round draft picks. I think that begins to change the narrative, Mike.
Yeah, I do too. Look, at the end of the day, if you recruit well, it gives you a bigger cushion on game day to go out and expand your game plan, put something in that will confound and confuse defensive coordinators.
Yeah.
Offensively, the question is, can Auburn score enough points to win games? Defensively, look, they set a good base for last year. Obviously, there were some areas where they needed to improve going into this year under DJ Durkin. And from the reports I'm getting, I have no doubt that they will continue to make that improvement. But your defense isn't going to hold every team to 0 points. So you got to put points on the board. Now, a big part of this conversation is going to be how high can Auburn climb this recruiting chart in 25 going into 2026. We'll talk about how high they need to get to keep the momentum going, to keep the party going after a word from our sponsors.
This episode of the Auburn Express is brought to you by our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. That's right across the street from the Chattahoochee Valley Community College, next to Renfro's Supermarket and Marco's Pizza. The Vibe Vault. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, get fresh for the weekend with the Vibe Vault. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants.
This episode of the War Report is brought to you by our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. And our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use code Get Your Weight Up for 15% off your weights and code TWR for $65 off fire pits and Kamado grills. Golden's Cast Iron, work out, grill out, chill out with our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Caesar, how high do they need to climb? How high can they climb this recruiting chart here in 2026? Auburn has some ground to make up. Now, there are a couple of big-time top 50 guys that they are in the running for. They're in a heated battle for Benjamin Russell. He's the number 11 overall recruit in the country. You've got guys like Anthony Jones from St. Paul's. 247 is predicting him as an Auburn lean. He is the number 41 overall recruit on the charts. They've got big time names. Hugh Freeze has not struggled to bring in top 100 players. Hezekiah Harris at 103 per 247, in the Auburn camp. Look, they're getting talent. They certainly are. But Hugh Freeze said it himself. They need to live in the top 6 or 7. Now, his direct quote was, if we're not in the top 6 or 7 in recruiting by year 3, everyone here is going to be looking for a job. Well, they did that in year 2. But if they fall off it in year 3, is that viewed as a setback? Does this staff have room to bring in maybe just a top 15 class and still keep it moving forward by, maybe filling needs through the portal?
Yes. The answer to that, the short answer to it is yes. Now, obviously, Auburn, you want Auburn to be back in the top 6 or 7 and go higher, right? But again, that has to follow the success on the field. We've seen programs that can recruit in the top 15. As long as they're addressing their needs, they're still in good shape, Mike. And I think that's one of the things that by previous coaching staffs, we've seen Auburn recruit somewhere around that top 10, but wasn't addressing needs. And it began to rear its ugly head on the football field when we would face complete teams top to bottom, and we just didn't have the horses or the players, the necessary players to be able to pull out those games, right? So if this coaching staff continues to fill its needs, obviously, sliding into the top 15, you're missing on guys that you were actually getting into the fold in prior years. But I think this coaching staff has a good opportunity to still get into the top 10, Mike, because they're still in it for a lot of guys. You got to think about how strategic this coaching staff is during the regular season with their visits, how they're scheduling guys to come in for marquee games. You got Georgia at home. You have teams like Bama coming into Auburn. Like, you have some amazing opportunities to bring in some guys to see a very electric atmosphere. And if Auburn is actually improved this year, if Auburn is actually in the conversation for a potential playoff spot, think about how electric the atmosphere is to bring in those recruits. And what if Auburn wins a couple of games this year, more games than what people thought they would? Think about how it was when Auburn brought Deuce Knight in. And it was like, can Auburn get a win for this kid to finally pull the trigger, right? Right. So this was a team that was in transition, and you had this guy that you felt good about him, but you just needed him to witness a win, Mike. if Auburn is actually winning games this year, if Auburn is actually taking that step forward, and you got guys like a Deuce Knight on campus, think about what that does for these guys. Obviously, this is a coaching staff that can get guys here to visit the atmosphere. But if you're able to put something on the field for them to see, right? No longer paying lip service to these kids, but you're actually putting a product on the field that I can actually see myself playing in this offense. I see the proof of concept. I see that you were actually able to beat Georgia. I see that you was actually able to beat up Alabama this year. Mike, you're going to see you're going to see this coaching staff begin to turn things around in recruiting, and you're going to see Auburn begin to soar back up the recruiting rankings because now they're putting together what a lot of players are holding out to see, and that's proof of concept.
Yeah, 247 has put together when the portal happened, they started a new ranking where they factor in the portal class to, so you could get an idea of what the influx of talent actually is. Now they're doing something called the team talent composite ranking. So they're saying, how talented is your team by composite rankings? I said something. I say this about Kalen DeBoer, and the Bammers hate it, but he really underachieved because we've been saying that by composite rating, he inherited the most talented team any coach has ever been handed. Right? And he missed the playoff. 247 said that Alabama in 2024 had the most talented team by composite rating in the country. Georgia was at number 2. Ohio State was at 3. They won the whole thing. Texas was at 4. Obviously, they made the playoffs. Clemson was 5. I believe they were in the playoffs. Oregon was at 6. They made the playoff. Oklahoma was 7. Think about the season they had last year. They said in 2024, they had the 7th. Now, everybody got hurt, so we understand the rash of injuries that came through there. But, in perspective, LSU, 8, they missed the playoffs. Notre Dame, 9, they made the championship game.
Yeah.
Texas A&M, 10, new coach, but they have not lacked recruiting resources. Penn State at 11, they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Florida at 12, and we know they had the hardest schedule in college football history. Florida State at 13, complete disaster. Miami at 14, USC at 15. Tennessee made the playoffs with the 17th most talented team by composite rating. Missouri 19, Ole Miss 20, South Carolina 21. Auburn was at 18. They had the 18th most talented team, and teams ranked below them in composite rating had better records and a better shot at the playoff. So I think by that standard, Hugh Freeze should be able to take this team and make the playoffs.
I agree. I agree, Mike. Again, the excuse, the things that ailed you, the things that annoyed Hugh Freeze should not even be present in year 3. You've addressed a lot of the issues that you saw in year 1 when you got here at Auburn. Now it's time to put a product on the field that resembles the vision that you have for this program. And it starts with the offensive side of the football because, again, DJ Durkin is holding up his end of the bargain, Mike. The man is one of the most highest paid assistants in the nation. Ohio State came after him. This defense is proven. Hugh Freeze is an offensive-minded guy. It's time for Auburn to resemble a Hugh Freeze offense. And it's time for Auburn to begin to put points on the board, stop turning the ball over to other teams, and really begin to show some of these elite skilled players on offense that, hey, I can come to Auburn and I can succeed. I can come to Auburn and I can demonstrate my God-given talents. I can come to Auburn and it can launch me into a first-round draft pick at the next level. It's time for Hugh Freeze to start doing that.
The 2025 composite team talent rankings aren't out yet, so they have not assessed the talent level of the 2025 team. I don't know if that's something that they do in hindsight, or if we got to wait till the end of the season, or if that will be something that they put out and then move the needle as the season goes along. I'm going to reach out to my good friend Nathan King over there at 247 and see what they have in plans. But I love that they're doing this now. They're saying, look, of all the guys that we've rated that are still playing now, and when we have the benefit of hindsight, we can say your team had X amount of talent. And if Tennessee can be ranked one spot ahead of Auburn, and I can't help but think that's about that one piece. That's about having your quarterback. They had Nico. They made the playoffs. Is Jackson Arnold the guy? Does he raise your composite ranking at that QB position high enough that you are now in a spot where maybe Tennessee was at? Your defense certainly has a chance to improve, and they weren't working on nothing. They were really good last year at times.
That wide receiver room should definitely lift it, Mike. That wide receiver room should definitely do it if Jackson Arnold does it himself. But again, the talent is there, Mike. It's now the excuses are over. I think this is prove it time. This is a prove it year. This is a very important, and I think this coaching staff feels it too, Mike. Again, this coaching staff has enjoyed a lot of success on the recruiting trail. I think they know the cards are stacked right for them in terms of the schedule. Your toughest opponents are coming to Jordan-Hare. Auburn has to take advantage. They have to get off to a good start in this season to really get the momentum going. Hugh Freeze knows he has to win in order to sustain the success he already has on the recruiting trail. I'm eager to see Auburn get off to a fast start in this season.
I'm eager to see it too. Like I said, the talent is there. The first 2 years, he talked about the talent gap. But I will tell you this. I feel like they've done a good job closing that gap. Now they just have to use what they have. And this will be about how well they filled actual needs. Right?
Yes.
Did you feel your need at quarterback with Jackson Arnold? Because I don't think Peyton Thorne was as much of the problem as a lot of fans try to label him. I don't think he was as much of the problem, Caesar, as his coach labeled him at times. But if you filled your need there, if Deuce Knight is that guy that's going to step in after him and be ready in case of emergency, if Damari Alston, who he did not recruit, but he went on record saying that he was a lot better. He said we underestimated Damari Alston. He's a much better back than we thought coming in the door. If he's your guy, Cam Coleman's your guy. You pretty much understand that Eric Singleton is a guy. Malcolm Simmons showed you what he can do. If you've developed him year over year, there's no reason he shouldn't be one of the best players in the SEC. Auburn is riddled with potential all SEC talent this year. You just have to go out and get the results. That means calling the right plays in the moment. That means putting together a better game plan than the other guy. And that means beating the other team's ass and getting the dub. That's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's just time for Auburn to go out and whoop ass. So, look, we're whooping ass every day here at the War Report on your Auburn Express. A great conversation with my friend Caesar Walker. Guys, that's it for today's show. Do us a favor. If you're in the comments after the video and you want to support the content that we're doing, hit that super chat button, that super thanks button. I'm sorry. Show us some love there in the comments after the video. Like on social media and subscribe to the channel as always. Subscribe on podcast as well too. We appreciate your support there. We'll be back at you guys tomorrow morning with another great episode